The silent era was from 1895 to 1929, and these were two very significant cinema boom times. The earliest American films, which appeared around 1895, were primarily a working class pastime. Because they tell stories without words, they appealed to a large, mostly illiterate immigrant population in the United States. Train Pulling into a Station was the first silent film which came from France. It was a short, silent documentary film, directed and produced by Auguste and Louis Lumière. It was only a 50-second film of a train pulling into a station, which audiences found incredibly overwhelming, yet so fascinating at the same time. After 1900, film became a more middle-class phenomenon, as filmmakers exploited film storytelling potential by adapting bourgeois novels for the screen. Another very significant film, which came in 1902, was A Trip to the Moon, directed and produced by Georges Méliès. It is where a group of men travel to the moon by being shot in a capsule by a giant cannon. They are then captured by moon men, escape, and return to the Earth. Its an unusual length, lavish production values, innovative special effects, and an emphasis on storytelling were widely influential on other filmmakers and ultimately on the development of narrative film as a whole. The Soviet montage. Soviet filmmakers saw editing as the foundation of film art and therefore used the shot, not the scene, as a primary unit of film language and meaning. Shoulder Arms. Charlie is a boot camp private who has a dream of being a hero, who goes on a daring mission behind enemy lines. Shoulder Arms is Charlie's second film for First National Pictures. Released in 1918, it is a silent comedy set in France during World War I. German Expressionism was very influenced by the art movements of Expressionism and Constructivism. German filmmakers working for the Berlin-based mega studio, UFA, created a series of important films from 1919 to 1933 until Hitler came to power. These films thought to express the individual and collective subjectivities, desires and fantasies of the characters through chiaroscuro lighting. French avant-garde influenced by Dadaism, Surrealism and poetic naturalism. French experimental filmmakers made a series of innovative films that explored the medium as a purely visual form, constructive surrealist, non-narrative dreamscapes, and used symbolism to externalise the psychology of their characters.
Never start, you know what I mean? It's the opening chapter. Like without all that groundwork in silent film, we wouldn't have what we have today. Like they were the pioneers, like Chaplin and Méliès, you know. They're pretty much the fathers of modern day film.
The overacting. So it's almost more like theatre than film. The way they sort of gesticulate and make really dramatic actions to compensate for the fact that they can't say anything.
It's an entirely visual medium. The early filmmakers in Hollywood in the 1920s had no sound other than the music that was played in the theatres when they were projecting silent films. So they had to be really inventive with their cinematography, and they came up with brilliant ideas, brilliant sight gags, and just really inventive use of visual things going on in the early history of filmmaking.
So my interest is early silent cinema, stems mainly from the practice of cinema. So I look at a lot of the history of vaudeville theatre and the development of filmmaking as a practice and the move of mass audiences into that cinema space. What you tend to see, particularly in areas like New York City, is lots of immigrant communities coming over, living in an American space, in an English language space, and then having to learn the culture, and part of that learning takes place in the realm of the cinema space. So you see, on the one hand, lots of people mixing in these cinema spaces in popular areas, and on the other hand, these mini communities of ethnic minorities forming in Upper East Side, for example, in Harlem, and people get to practice their own culture. So cinema are really key to the development of modernity, the development of contemporary culture and multiculturalism in places like London and New York. And that's my particular interest in seeing how those cultures and audiences develop as much as the silent films themselves.
I always like the soundtracks. They're always really interesting, and I think it's nice to be able to hear the nice music as well.